is an important one as well, Megan, perhaps even adding to some of the weakness we're seeing in the broader market.
Absolutely, David. These numbers just keep changing, as you know. And what we've just confirmed from the White House is that the new total rate against China is now 145% tariff so far this term. That's added to anything that was in place before President Trump took office. That's not a new escalation, but it's written out in the executive order that it was a 125% so-called reciprocal rate. You've got to add that to the 20% fentanyl rate. A White House official confirming to me that 145% is now actually the accurate new rate on Chinese goods. So it is one thing that could be pulling these markets down, plus the recognition of all the tariffs that still remain even throughout this 90-day pause. You can see them here, the biggest being that rate against China, which the White House says now should hold at 145%, and the retaliation of at least 84% from China on most U.S. goods. Then there are also the sectoral tariffs still in place. Those are on metals and cars. There's the Canada and Mexico tariffs on everything that doesn't comply with the USMCA, which is substantial. And there's that 10% tariff on pretty much everything else. And so even as negotiations continue, that baseline tariff seems for now to be here to stay.
Everybody expects the 10% baseline tariff is going to be the baseline, and that it's going to take some kind of extraordinary deal for the president to go below there.
Now, we know this is not an end to the tariff threats either. The president regularly promises us that more tariffs are coming soon, he says, on copper, lumber, pharmaceuticals, and semiconductors. There's also a 25% tariff on countries that buy Venezuelan oil, which has been signed into law and so could theoretically take effect at any time. And guys, also, of course, there's that 90 days of uncertainty left as the administration negotiates with other countries. And estimates vary here, but the average effective tariff rate after yesterday is still around 20 to 25%, maybe higher now that we know about the 145% rate. So it's pretty much in line where it was before the pause. There's reason for optimism, you could argue, because the president has now shown that he's open to striking deals. But when it comes to the actual tariffs being paid, we are pretty much where we were 24 hours ago. Guys?
Megan, what are your expectations, or what can we expect over these next 90 days? You know, just the manpower needed alone to try to negotiate with I don't even know how many different trading partners would seem to be a very difficult thing to undertake.
Absolutely. That's why we're hearing from the White House so far today that they are prioritizing these countries. They have to figure out how they're going to prioritize. Before all of this happened, so before the past week, they had previously been saying they might do that based on trade deficits, start with the countries with the biggest trade deficits and then move on from there. The trade representative, when he testified on Capitol Hill this week, was pretty clear that, of course, they have to make some decisions like that, and that these aren't going to be formal trade deals as known by law, meaning that they're not going to involve Congress. That's a much bigger deal. That's something that a lot of lawyers are involved. They have to go back and forth and have consultations with Congress. A Senate aide told me they have not gotten any heads up from the administration that so-called formal trade negotiations are coming. That just means that these are sort of lower key. They're directly with each country. So I think, you know, the White House wants to make some noise here. We could get some deals announced probably quite soon. Hassett was saying there were some that were ready to go. They just had to sort of be lawyered up. So I think we'll see some action, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
I wonder where Europe fits in that priority list, because that, I mean, obviously big, 27 members, different countries, and big trading partner, a potential to inflict pain on the U.S. market.
Absolutely, and it seems to be the trading partner that the president is most angry at after China. There was a lot of speculation yesterday in the first flurry when we were still trying to nail down the details as to whether the EU would also fall to the lower 10% rate or stay where it was because it had at least voted to approve some retaliation. I would think Europe gets to be pretty high on that list, partly because I think if there's not progress made with the bloc, this administration might want to go higher, and we might see further retaliation. So I would imagine pretty high on that list.
Yeah, well, I mean, and they have money. Like, they can buy more American gas. They can help, and they can close some of their trading barriers, like tariffs. Thank you, Megan. We'll come back to you as soon as you learn more. Megan Cassell in Washington. Let's get to the markets. The major indices giving back some of yesterday's historic rally. Our next guest is standing by his year-end